And live, yes.
Wow.
Hello, hello,
What's up?
hello.
Yay!
Happy Monday. Rafa, happy Monday. Can you hear us? Are you with us?
Happy Monday.
You are with us.
I'm with you. Are you with me or not? How is it going, guys? It's evening here. There it's morning, so it should like to say like, are you with me or not? How is it going? How was the weekend?
Weekend was good. It's always short, but it's always good. So, yes. And welcome, Natasha. That's the most important thing to say today.
Yes,
Welcome to the family.
exactly.
Officially welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Super excited. But yeah, weekend's too short, but this weekend I don't mind it being short because I get to be with you all.
Nice. Yeah, no, you probably couldn't have stand like the excitement on the weekend. You couldn't wait for Monday to come and and join us at 8:30
Yeah,
a.m. on a live.
I know. That's the only weekend I think that I will feel this excited.
So you're like looking forward for the Monday to come. Yes, got it. So, guys, as you know, and as you can see from pretty much anywhere around you, if you're watching this stream live, uh, we've started a new spin-off, and we call this design-ERS with a H for whoever cannot feel it from my accent. So probably most of you, because my accent is terrible. But yeah, we wanted to do something different, do something meaningful, do something that we all care about, and we immediately resonate with Natasha in creating we called it a journey of allyship. So we're gonna give you like a little bit more of what's in our mind. Today is literally our pilot, our launch party. So we want you guys to stay
Mhm.
involved and tell us what you think. And idea in this journey of allyship, just discuss a lot of the themes that are nowadays in the professional world, even beyond design. But I would say before we
Yeah.
get into those topics, without further ado, I would love for our new member of the family, Natashia Tjandra, to give like a little bit of intro about herself.
Welcome, buddy.
Yes, we don't have the sound effect yet.
Yay! It's totally fine. Your clapping is good enough sound effect. So I'm Natasha. I'm a senior manager of player and employee experience in EA. I'm not a game designer, although I would love to be one, but I just don't have the expertise or the creativity for one. A lot of the things that I do have been around, you know, uh, women empowerment. Because this year with the pandemic, there's a lot of things that's happening, and that has forced me to go into like self reflection. And at some point, and this is why the three of us gel so much, because at some point, we all realize that we have power. And a lot of that for me this year is giving back. What can I do with my privilege and my power? And so that's like the genesis of this, I think, basically, because the three of us just met and then we started talking and then design-ERS happened.
I love it. I think it's a
Love
great
that.
plan.
Yeah, and it's great for me. I don't know what you think about that, Fede, but at the beginning we just wanted to kind of having an episode on those topics, but it's so much bigger than it's impossible to actually being covered in just an episode. So we're super happy to having you here and to guide this spin-off further. Fede.
Yeah, I think that's exact. I mean, when we start discussing those topics and we were thinking, oh, this would be nice to discuss with with Natasha, then we realized, well, we opened the Pandora box. I don't know if I have to say luckily or unluckily because again, it might something that might be not completely positive per se. But at some point, there's two things you can do in the world. Like you can only talk about it, or you can rather do something. So we decided to do the second one and see how can we actually create this journey, talk about this topic. Some of them are not easy. I mean, considering we also work at companies, we try and we see it every day. I mean, and we're trying whenever we get into those scenarios and situation, we try to change it. It's not even easier for us, even if we've been working for probably 15, 20 years. It's not that you can just go and fix it with a magical wand. So it takes a village, as they say. It takes more than one person, and that's why we said, look, probably the best way to do some information and start with some discussion, even if they're tough. Let's just go online live and talk about it. And so here we are. I hope that you guys enjoyed the new digital identity, visual identity that we created outside of Design-ERS, our usual episode. And yeah, that's how it's going to work. We will try to do one of these episodes at least monthly, according to our schedule. It's probably going to get a little bit crazier in September and moving on, but we'll do our best. We pledged our our willingness to do this. But yeah, I would say let's talk a little bit more about the genesis, Natasha. So what do you feel like this is important? Why?
Well, I started mentoring with ADP List, and this is where you and I met, Fede. And I met with, I think, 135 mentees so far. 90% of them are women and colored. So, as I met more and more of them, the patterns start emerging. And I realized that there are so many women out there who are going through the same struggles that I've been through and the challenges that I am, going through today. So, other than, one of my friends will say, well, you are basically repeating yourself over and over again in all of that 30-minute conversation. And I'm like, well, yes and no. So it's become really important for me to just share my experiences or other women's experiences with everybody because it's very important, right? We always think that we are in the silos where we are not, this is an experience that is only relevant to us. So the more you talk to people, the more you realize that, hey, we're actually going through the same thing, or I went through that, and then and you went through something different that I can learn from. So the more we can help each other, the more we can share, the more we can talk about it, the more we can solve and we can help unlock or unblock points of frictions for all of us. So, my goal is rather selfish. I want to create more and more space for women at that table.
I'm with you. I will plus one everything you just said. I love the unlock and unblock. Honestly, I think I'm gonna reuse that. Thank you. And no, I wanted to add that. I mean, first of all, dang, you have 135. I had 134, so now I cannot brag about it. No, I'm not counting. So I have no idea how many mentees I had. I'm not that good at keeping the stats, but through my experience, I have to say I was fortunate enough to work with a lot of talented females, and I loved it. To some extent, I always say I personally think that I even work better with with female partners than male. It's just well, it can be a personal preference. I don't even know why, because I don't really ask myself why. But what I found out during this experience is that many of them they were telling me, "Oh, I wish it was always like this." And that made me kind of surprised, and I'm kind of curious. So I was asking, what do you mean, right? I mean, many of them opened up and they start sharing, sometimes there are some challenges that they face, the way they are treated, the space that are given, the authority. There's a lot of practical thing that to me was kind of mind blowing. It was kind of a surprise to be in their shoes and hear those things, because I couldn't experience them firsthand, right? And definitely not when we are in an environment where I was present. So I said, okay, so I don't think that's right. So what, again, I'm all about the action. What can we do to change the status quo? And we started thinking about, okay, let me help those people. That's all I want to do. I mean, I can't say selfishly, Natasha, but yeah, I mean, I want women to succeed, to be completely treated as peers, because to me there is no other way. That is it. Like everyone has to be a peer in the professional environment. That's it.
Yeah, and also women, like, the more you put women or other people on the table, right, the more a product can be elevated. I don't know if you both have that moments where you are like stuck on something and then you talk to someone else. It could be like, another teammate of another culture, another gender, or anything. And then you're like, oh, I haven't really thought about it that way. And then you're like, oh, you kind of like bring that product forward, or even better. I know I'm like generalizing it in a generalized way. Like, I'm so afraid that I will go into one of those deep dives, and then instead of half an hour, we'll be like an hour into this conversation.
Yeah, and I have I want to ask you a question, Raffaele, but before I get into that, I wanted to tell like a story of in my past consulting life where I was working for a big retailer. We had to do a kind of huge design thinking session about like feminine products. And a way to change the way some of that they were like intimate feminine products. And to me, that was a game changer. Like what you're saying, Natasha,
Yeah.
being and having to like design, deliver, and facilitate the conversation, I realized it was freaking hard because, I mean, as you can say, I'm not a woman, and the many things that came out during the session where most of the team members were women and they were talking about the products, but they know what was going on, like even a female body and everything, like the mental, the physical. To me, it was mind blowing because I really realized that there is so much that we don't know. It was probably one of the hardest things I've done in my life. Because usually you go and lead with your subject matter expertise, right? And you can think about design.
Yeah.
But there was so much about like the uniqueness of being female, right? And having like a female body. That was like that was fantastic. I always remember that session was phenomenal. But the question before I forget, sorry, Rafa, the question I have for you is: you do even a pretty good amount of like freelancing. So in the freelancing world, why do you think this is important? Is it something that you see? Is there a different kind of like competition in the freelancing world? How does it work? I'm very curious.
This is a very interesting question. And at least from my experience, in now more than 2 years that I'm actively working as a freelancer, women are pretty much very underrated from a freelance perspective, at least from my opinion. I don't know the reason, especially generally speaking, even because I'm completely with you. I don't know why it should be like this, or why should I think that men are a normal. No, I don't want to say normal. It's super tricky to use these kind of words. But at least in my experience as a freelancer, I've always helped or contributed with women who are in positions under me and not above me. And that it's, I totally agree with Natasha was saying before, related to the unblocking your creativity, asking tips or asking a different opinion. I have a dear friend of mine in Berlin that she's a lead designer, but generally speaking, there are very, very few in the freelancer activity, at least for me in the Europe market, in the European market. And yeah, we're super happy to move this conversation forward in try to bring awareness on the table, right? Because I don't want to think that there's a problem because that could be or that could not be. What just we want to do with this pilot is bring awareness. Let's talk about that, right? I just have a question actually for you, Natasha, related to the salary negotiation. If I can go straight to the point, right? Because research shows that women have a tendency for underestimate their professional value. And it's well known that the gender pay gap in the tech industry, it's a fact, right? It's not a guessing. It's not my point of view, as I was saying. So, first of all, do you agree with that? And why do you believe this happens? And what could be some tips? Because we still want to be practical to overcome this obstacle.
That's a great question. This one's one of those really deep questions that I think.
I was straight to the point because I was, you were talking about freelancing, and now we just let's go there.
So I'm definitely not an expert, and then this is definitely a topic that I would love to cover in one of our episodes, because I think I do agree with that. Like, there is definitely bias in the workplace, or even in the freelance world, or in the industry for sure. And it all got to do with like the social norms of how women should be in the workplace, from how we behave, from what we should wear, how we should speak, what tasks we should perform. So there's this like social convention of how we should be. So if we are veering off that lane, we're penalized. So for example, if a woman is deemed aggressively pursuing her career advancement, we'll get dinged. So let's say a very good example is like if we lead a team and we exhibit certain male behaviors, such as being assertive, for example, we'll get pushback from both men and women. So it's really interesting. And there's this theory where Lean In calls the likability penalty. So, and all of this that we just talked about, right, influence a woman's behavior when negotiating salary. Because even before we start a new job or before we start working with someone, there's this fear that we will be penalized. And because of that, it's unlikely that we'll negotiate for a salary that we want. This is a real fear. So before I embarked into this journey, there was a lot of like, oh, is this real? Am I the only one feeling this? And then I started reading up about it. I'm like, oh, shoot, it's actually a real thing. Yeah. Like, other women are being afraid of being judged because it's so hard it's already hard for women to be in the workplace, right? If there's like this social convention of how you should be, how you should talk, and there's this thing about like, have you ever wondered why women always are the one who's located or relegated as note takers in a meeting? A simple thing such as that, right? There's always no men who do the note taking or who sent the recap notes. Very little, super little. There's even like articles about how women should try to say no to that task in a nice, positive way. So that shows like, how wrong this is. So anyway, my point is that all of that kind of chips away at someone's confidence. So, and it's really hard. There's also another one that I was reading, a report from McKinsey, that found that men are often hired or promoted based on their potential, but women are hired for their experience and track record. So if women watch that occur in their workplace over and over again, it makes sense that they'll, be less likely to negotiate for their salary because they don't feel that they have the qualifications to do so. And another one, just to throw it out there, like in our society, is really interesting, like how girls are socialized to follow the rules. So there's this ingrained habit in us that we need to follow the guidelines and we need to follow the rules. So it's really interesting. Like, there's a lot of like social conventions. There's a lot of like things that are chipping away at our confidence, and there's also that likability penalty.
There's also a component that I wanted to add. When we were brainstorming those episodes, full transparency with you guys, we were even thinking, Natasha and I, we do live and work in Silicon Valley. That is probably one of the most advanced places where we are all trying to fight these attitudes, right? These wrong habits. But we're lucky because we live and work in a place that is still a pretty good place to live and work in. but we were thinking the rest of the world is not like this. The rest of the world
Yeah.
is way behind in terms of like treating people right. And I remember, and this conversation I had multiple times with people, for example, who work in Italy, but even in Europe, that when women go for any sort of hiring process, the recruiter will try to understand if they're right, in that young age,
Maternity.
right? Yes, you guys see, you
I
already
know
know.
that. I
Ooh.
Yeah,
know
see,
this.
Rafael
I
already
know
knows.
this.
They're
Don't
gonna
ask
try
me
to
if I know
understand.
this, but I
Yeah,
know that.
trying to understand. Oh,
It's
are
yeah.
you engaged? Do you have a boyfriend? Like the likeliness of having a kid. So then going on maternity, and most of the time they'd rather get someone younger or older that's already kind of established or not there yet, not to lose that person to like maternity or whatever. That to me is absolutely crazy.
But
But I
no.
mean, let's be
Yeah.
honest, it freaking
And
happens.
and I don't want to sound pessimist, but that's Europe, and
Yeah.
the world. It's not just Europe and America. There are other continents outside. I love what Natasha, what you said, because there were practical tips, even in a general way, just as a thought or just as a conversation related to that, and I really appreciate that. To move the conversation forward, in terms of bring some happiness, right, or bring some the other side of the coin, I would say, at least for the pilots, guys. Let's try to to split. Talking about female leadership, I mentioned it, Lea, the designer from Berlin, a dear friend of mine, and I think
Yes.
one of the best female leader I don't know personally. It's Katie Deal, the ex design experience at Airbnb, ex VP at Lyft. Now she's leading Stripe as the head of design. She's brilliant. I totally recommend to you guys to follow her podcast episode on abstract related to the difference between critiques and feedback. It's was a game changer for me. And I was just wondering to you, what are examples of leaders or female leaders, and if there are some examples that we can share of success in this area?
I think I would love for other female leaders out there to start like sharing more and more of their successes, sharing more and
Mm.
more of their stories with everybody, because what we see is what we believe, right? Like I was reading up about this toxic interactions for females in the workplace, and then one of the findings was that the reason why the interaction is toxic is because we believe wrongly that there is not enough space at the top for women, because that's what we're seeing. Like we don't see enough women at the C level, we don't see enough women being C-level leaders. So with that note, I think the more success stories we share, the more we could encourage other women to go after what they want, the salary that they want, or to negotiate and go for it. I think the more other women are going to be encouraged, because there is a track record of other women being successful in this area. So this is a very, very sensitive topic, right? I mean, even for males, because like I don't know if you all like go for beers and talk about like we don't go and talk about salaries, right? And we don't go to
That's
talk
true.
about like how do we get more salary, or how do we negotiate for it. So like the more we can talk about that, the more we can discuss about that, the more we can normalize it.
Mm, interesting.
It's totally true. I
Uh, it,
think we can and the plan is to literally search and leverage the network that we have and finding those
Mm-hmm.
people that can talk about those topics. I mean, definitely we are gonna talk about like negotiation. There's another few topics that we have in mind, guys, that we would love to talk. So I mean, if you're watching and you do know someone that should be invited, by all means, we're trying to be inclusive. So yes, please, I mean, reach out to any one of us and tell us if you like know someone that should be on this show. We can't wait to meet new people, and we will do the same. Like we're gonna tap into our network and realize who's gonna be the best ally to talk about certain topic. Yeah, I mean, negotiation is already noted. I I even wrote it in the comment on YouTube. But yes, that's a great one.
Yeah, I think another good one is because of the pandemic. If we can find someone who will be really good at re-entering the workplace on like, the specifics on how can we re-enter the workplace, I think that'll be great because there are a spectrum of women who have been either laid off or have left the workplace just because of, the pandemic. Because we need to be like some of us are primary caregivers, so we need to it's really, really a high burnout rate to like have a job and also care for your family at the same time. So as the world reopens, there will be more women who's coming back to work or even renegotiate for a better work-life balance. So if you have anybody who you think we could talk to, this will be amazing.
That's the reason why we did an allyship journey. We're really open to. We got a short list of people that we'll definitely invite, but I mean the stage is as ours as yours, guys. So yeah, even if you want to be up here with us, don't be shy. I know someone already reached out via Instagram when we first published like the new visual identity, but so I was I was very happy and it's like nice, good, yeah, that's what you do. I mean, show up. I mean, if you don't, to some extent, I would say, I always say everyone, like no matter what they do, that like we do own our career and we do own our life, right? So again, and we can stay here and try to help you and talk all the time that we want, but everyone needs to take action. If you don't take action and if you're not the first one taking action, we're going nowhere. So again, whether it's like proposing a topic, whether it's proposing a person, whether it's like writing a line, a question, whatever that is, do it because everything can spark a really interesting conversation. And it's a domino effect. So you start somewhere, you don't know where it ends. It's also the beauty of design. So don't be shy. We don't bite. I mean, Rafael sometimes does, but we're gonna keep him like.
Yeah, but he's really far away. Yes. He's really far away. He's fine. It's a good thing that we are all remote.
Maybe who knows? I can relocate soon. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it would be great to have you. I mean, to start traveling. To be honest, but of course,
that's already something. Don't take nothing for granted. After the vaccine that I've taken last week, I thought I was to die, and then I really bought. So travel is on the next step for the list.
The Phoenix over there. So Natasha, who's your dream guest? If you were to have like
good question.
I'd love to talk to Laura Milley for sure, because she's a woman in the gaming industry, a traditionally male-dominated industry, and I think she's been at EA for 14 years. So there's like she worked from her way up, right? So I think it'll be great. So for those of you who don't know, Laura Milley is a chief studio officer at EA, so it'll be great to like talk to a strong woman who's worked her way up. And then I do want to talk to, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Julie Chua. So she's used to be like, I think the head of design of Facebook. I mean, she's Asian and I'm Asian, so she's like my role model. So she's Asian and she's a woman. So that's like two strikes from the right, and the great book as well, right? So that's two strikes from the get-go. So it'll be, I think, life-changing for anyone to learn her journey and how she navigates to her workplace and get to where she is today. Yeah, what about you, Rafa? Like, who are yours?
I mean, Katie Deal, as I said, for sure. From her perspective, generally speaking, after leading the experiences of travels, transport, and now payments, it's just mind-blowing. But Julie too, the pronunciation of the surname would be incredible, especially because she started in design at Facebook when there were like 30 people. So it's
wow.
it's incredible. Yeah, no, I know her. So it should be amazing to hear how she brings to the table back from there. Fede, what about you?
I have two, one man and a woman. Just to be fair, the let's start like women first. It would be Donna Morris. She's the CHRO at Walmart right now. She used to be the CHRO at Adobe, and I would love to talk to her. I've been in contact with her in my previous professional life when I was working for something at Adobe, and I've seen from the inside the amount of attention that they have for diversity and inclusion, and the kind of attitude that people have at Adobe in general. That is pretty fantastic. So I know that's a person that always been focusing on those themes. And now Walmart, it's even more difficult to some extent, because as a retailer, then you don't only have to deal with like those professionals in the headquarters, but for people that are cashiers, people that are actually office assistants. So it's way more difficult when you have such a huge amount of people. I think we talk, their internet is like some million folks. It's probably the biggest, they have probably the biggest intranet ever as a company because of the number of employees that they have. So at scale, I think it will be fantastic. I mean, again, it's easier when you have like more managerial role. Imagine when you have to talk to someone that works and I don't know, fix the groceries in a shop, right? It's you're going down to a very very I would say tricky level, and how you make sure that both of them are equally respected. And on the other side, in my last minute will be Stephen Gates. That is one of my role model, because he's totally outspoken. And again, as I always say, I try to be practical, and he is incredibly practical. And I would love to discuss with him what the heck can we do to change our mentality. So that's the question I will also ask him. That's it. Those two, easy peasy.
Interesting. Awesome.
Guys, I think
we need to
are
wrap
at
up,
time,
because otherwise I would love to speak and hear more from you guys. But let's keep it sweet and short for this pilot. This was just the beginning, right?
Oh yeah.
And catch you up soon.
Yes. Natasha, thank you
Yes,
again.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Natasha. Literally, we are not that fancy with animations or party things, but our hearts are totally happy for you for your joining us. And yeah, let's like this. And and yeah, speak to you soon.
Yes, for sure. Well, you made my week totally. So
Yeah.
talk to you all.
And it's Monday. So.
I know. I don't think it can get any better from this one.
Yeah, I don't know how to reply to that one. I'm just gonna say.
Me as well.
Nothing to say. My heart is melting. Guys, thank you. We'll talk to you very soon. Hope you enjoyed this pilot. Have a great week.
Take care. You too.
Bye.
Bye.